You're listening to the Bombad Generals.
General? Oh.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Bombad Generals. I'm Matt, trying not to be heard by people in other rooms right now, so that's why I'm sounding like this. And we'll see how Seth is sounding as well.
Hi,
Hello.
This is normal audio levels right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for listening to the pod.
Together. And then we've also got Drew and Travis here to talk to us about a cool new league format, but spoiler alert, sounds like it could expand beyond league. Welcome, Drew and Travis.
Hey
guys,
thanks
this
for
is
having
Drew.
us. This
Sweet.
is Travis. Yeah.
Oh, that's good, actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
Identify
I'm Drew.
yourselves for the audio.
Droovy. All right, let's Travis, we'll start with you. Yeah, how long have you been playing Legion? Just a quick little snippet about yourself, and then Drew, your follow.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. I got into Legion August 2020, back when COVID was a thing and no one was playing in person. Everyone was selling their minis, so I was able to pick up quite a few minis at that time. Bought the game to play with my son potentially. And then if I liked painting, I was going to keep playing the game. And it's my first minis to ever paint. Started painting, loved it, and it was a great hobby to do when you can't go anywhere. And then since there, been playing in the Oklahoma community and running and playing in tournaments here, and then traveling to Texas and even a game up in Indiana. So.
Yeah, the Indy Open this past year, you went there. And then you're also going to LSO this year.
Yep, went to LSO and going to go to LVO in January.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Drew, how about you? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I've for all 26 years of me, most of that's been actually spent playing tabletop games. I started playing BattleTech when I was about 8 with my dad, and so I've got a pretty rich background in miniature gaming. But with Legion specifically, I actually jumped into it because of a lot of the similarities it has with, in my opinion, bolt action and also dust tactics. And those games just kind of fell to the wayside. So I picked up some Star Wars Legion after hearing about it in about, I think, 2018, 2019, something around there, from a good buddy of ours, Josh Cook, who's a big bolt action guy. And then COVID kind of happened, so it died off for me, but I started trying to pick it back up at a tournament level in 2021 and have been playing ever since. So here in the Oklahoma community as well.
Groovy. Well, spoiler alert, as you heard that they just mentioned, they're kind of locals to me. They're in Oklahoma City in Oklahoma, and I'm in Tulsa, which is about an hour and a half away. So backstory. So they have this cool league that they're doing right now, and I'm super bummed that I can't be a part of it because I think they hate me. Because I win all the tournaments that I go to. So, oh snap! Sorry. Ooh. But they started this new league. Travis actually hosts a lot of the tournaments in Oklahoma City, and he kind of leads that whole community up there a lot of the time. And this is called the Master and Apprentice League. So if you're ever interested in training someone to play Legion, which I hope everyone is, because I think in order for this community to grow, not just casually but competitively as well, like we need to be training the next generation of Legion players. Like it's not always going to be Matt or anyone who's like going to be the top players, but we want those new players to come in, and that's really how the community grows and how like AMG can also give more support to Star Wars Legion. So they have this cool new league. Travis, tell us about it. What was the concept, the birthing of it, and like what is it?
Yeah, so I think whenever Drew and I, a lot of times we'll hop on late at night, we'll hobby together, painting and talking about Legion, other war games. We were discussing at length about the competitive scene and how we're seeing quite a few more guys joining at our tournaments. You know, we're consistently getting about 20 people here at our tournaments here in Oklahoma City, and a lot of brand new faces, and even some guys who are kind of going 2-1, but really are trying to figure out how to go to win that next tournament or even do better at a major. And so we came up with an idea of this Master and Apprentice. So let's get the best guys in the community who want the most competitive games possible to help bring up some of these newer guys and some of those guys right in the middle of the pack. to try to, train them, dig into list building, turn zero, playing games, rolling back games, doing all the things to just get better at all the different levels of the game, from before miniatures on the table to turn 6 and making those hard decisions.
That's super cool. So we actually have a duo right here. Travis, you're the master, and Drew, you are the apprentice, right?
I am Travis's apprentice in the league, yes. And in fact, we, I think all but one master ended up with 2 apprentices. Is that right, Travis?
That's correct, yep.
Yeah, and so something else that to add to what Travis was saying there, though, for the core of the league was, for our group anyways, kind of specifically, we have a pretty even split of people that are really competitive, people who are and successful at being competitive. We have a really big group of people that are competitive but not necessarily successful at it. And then we just kind of out of nowhere, and I think this happens a lot in games, we just had a whole bunch of new people just show up, and they seemed a little skittish about being competitive. And so that was kind of the core of this league was, well, let's get everybody touched by that, by, hey, you guys that are winning events, share us your knowledge. You guys that are scared of jumping into events, we're going to hold your hand and tell you how to play in an event. And then you guys that are stuck in the middle, we're going to help you get over that threshold. That was the goal. And so Travis and I, him being my master, and I just started playing clones, and he's got a decent record with clones. We started from, not even turn 0. We started at list building, and we had conversations constantly about, this is the units I want to play. This is the kind of the list I want to bring. This is what I like about clones. What works, what doesn't work. And then, every game we would play, we played each other before the league even, the league was going, before my first round opponent, we played. And then we even played again after, I believe, my second round opponent, to just kind of refresher. And the communication was just constant there. And I think that's a very key point of this league, is that whoever your master is, you need to be communicating with them about pretty much anything you're thinking about, because they're there to be a resource. And if you're not using that resource, then you're not going to get better. That's something that I feel like in a lot of war games people struggle with, is they want to get over the hump, but they don't want to ask for help. And it's like, well, you can't teach yourself more than you're already at, right? You eventually can hit a bump in the road, right? And hit a wall. You can't teach yourself what you don't know. And so I think that's like the key of the league, is communication. And I think for us anyways, it worked fantastically. I've only lost 1 game in the league. I've only lost 1 game in the league, even considering my games that I played outside of the league. And I think I've played 7 games. So I've gone 6-1 since the league started. And I also have found out that I love my faction. That's something I've been struggling with. Seth, you know this a lot, because you come to our local events. I'm kind of a griper. I'll keep it tame for the podcast, but I'm definitely I'm Arby's, man. I got a lot of beef with Legion, and clones are. I don't think I would have found out that I wouldn't have found the army that I love in this game, I think, without the M&A League. That's what we call it as well, M&A League. So I don't want to hog that point, but that's kind of what I got out of it. So
that's super cool. So how's the league structured?
Yeah, so the way the league's structured is we actually had an even number sign up, so 20 players. And so I think we have 6 masters, and then every master has 2 apprentices. And what I did is I had everyone, you're faction locked for the league, because the idea is you're going to try to grow and improve in one faction. And so you have to pick your faction, and then the master's going to say, this is the factions that I think I'm really good at. And then the players can go in, or the apprentice can say, they'll pick their top 3 masters, and I did my best to pair everyone up with a master that I feel like is at a skill level they can teach and grow those individuals. And so from there, the league is 4 rounds. Masters never play apprentices, and the masters and apprentices don't play each other. That's something we may flip up next time around when we do that.
Well,
but let me finish the structure. We'll go down to speculation land. But yeah, it's 4 rounds. So the first round was all the apprentices played each other, and all the masters played each other. So at the same time, it's like, for the masters to join the league, well, they want a super competitive game also. So let's give them that super competitive game that they can bounce off each other. And then round 2, the apprentices got paired up with masters. And the intent was that even though it's supposed to be a competitive game, let's Let's learn during this game. Let's talk about turn 0. Let's eliminate all the gotcha moments, or even just say, this is a gotcha moment that I'm going to do to you if you don't flip this card at turn 0. And you may not want to deploy that unit there because I could fire support Yoda turn 1 off the map. Those kind of conversations being had. And then it goes back and forth for 4 rounds. And ultimately, there's no prizes, no special cards, no cash money, anything for this league. It was strictly the intent was to just grow
rep.
and learn. Yeah, just rep. Yep.
The best prize.
Matt, do you have any questions?
No, it seems pretty straightforward so far. So you say it goes back and forth. So after that second round, the apprentices are going to go back and play one another, and then try, kind of test their new skills, and then go back towards playing masters in that final round.
That's correct.
Okay, nice. Yep. And so you guys mentioned that you got a pretty, it sounds like good distribution of masters and apprentices. I think one of my questions doesn't have to be answered now, but kind of throughout the pod to think about is if we're going to, lift and shift this to other places, if other people want to try it out, but maybe don't have such a good distribution, maybe they have too many masters or too many apprentices, if there would be some tips or tricks to try to make it go easier for them. If maybe you have 3 masters and 12 apprentices, or 10 masters and 5 apprentices, if there would be maybe some ways to switch it up.
I feel like that I know we can kind of digest that as we go, but one thing that I think is key to answer that now is honesty. And I think that was something our community kind of showed up with. We had guys sign up for masters and then literally go, I don't think I can be a master. I need help myself. And people kind of be honest with themselves about where they really think they're at in the game. And I think having more apprentices than there are masters is a lot easier of a question to answer than more masters than apprentices, because you can just go, hey, there's 3 masters and 12 apprentices. You're all going to get 4 guys, and you may not get to play. But you're a community. At this point, we're asking you to help the community. And now the other way around is a little harder. But I think that just comes down to people just needing to remind themselves of who they're playing against, and that, hey, you know what? I'm not going to gain anything from just curb stomping this brand new guy. And that's something that kind of happened a little bit in our league. Curb stomping didn't happen. Sorry. That question got asked of, like, I'm an apprentice and this guy's an apprentice, but I'll use myself as an example. My first round opponent had played single digit games. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to have to play the master, because this guy, I will just delete him. I'm going to tournaments, you know what I mean? And I know at least the basics, and I know a lot of the gotchas and stuff. And so I was like, I'm not here for that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to gain anything from beating this guy and going home. You know what I mean? I'm here now to make sure that he gets something. And so part of that was, I like to look at it, just like we're kind of ripping off the master and apprentice idea from Star Wars. Well, Dooku was an apprentice to Sidious, but he had an apprentice that was Asajj. So that layer, you know what I mean, right? They can go. So I'm Dooku, basically, guys. That's what I'm trying to get at. So, but no,
episode
you got to just kind of be.
Or episode 2 Dooku? That's the question.
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars all day. That is the best.
Okay, so not decapitated out of the picture.
No,
Dooku.
not later.
Okay, sure.
No. I just think that people kind of have to, again, it's that, and I don't mean honesty as in like, I'm going to lie about stuff. I mean, like, you got to be truthful with yourself of what you're trying to get out of this league. So otherwise it's not going to work.
And also, Matt, to your point too, initially when I was building this league, it was like, we got 20 players signed up. Let's do 1-on-1. Let's do 10 masters, 10 apprentices. And then it was like, okay, I started going down the list of who signed up. I was like, okay, number 8, 9, and 10. Some of these players are, they're maybe 10 games. And so it's like, I can't have them be masters to anybody. And so then that's when I scaled it back. It was like, let's try to just put at least 2 to everybody. And, I think even maybe 3 could have worked as well. Thinking about that. So
I think you're right. It could have totally worked with 3. It's such a flexible system if everybody's just kind of open to playing their part, right?
Yep.
Now, how does like, I'm going to say the Jedi training. How does that work? Like, how does a master train the apprentice? You guys like, are you like, just play your own game? And like, how does like, you guys are together. How does that training work? Yeah.
I can start it off, Drew, and you can fill in the gaps.
Go ahead.
On that one.
Yeah. You're the master, so you're the Jedi training me. So start us off.
Yeah, so I came into the league with an intent to learn Yoda. I'd been playing Gar, working my way up. Played one game of Rex, decided he was not going to work it for me, and so went to Obi-Wan, played with him, played with Anakin, felt pretty good with Anakin. Then I wanted to try to get into Yoda, so that's what I was using the league to do. And so when Drew, same thing, he's trying to learn clones, trying to learn Anakin essentially. And so same thing, we meet up for a game, talk about our lists. We've already brainstormed our list back and forth quite a bit, saying what our list can and can't do. And so we show up, we do the turn 0 flop, and we're talking about every card, strengths and weaknesses. And I think that first game we ended up on Long March, hostage exchange,
and I think it was
maybe
clear,
War Weary or
maybe
clear.
some condition that didn't matter because we're both superstar Jedis. Yeah.
Yes. And so again, Long March, hostage. What ends up happening is our hostages just get away, and it comes down to
we're both 800. That's the important part. We're both 800,
and we're super far away. He has a really strong gun line. I have an okay gun line with triple barks, and we end up in a true draw. Like, I can't walk out into him for fear I'm going to get wiped out. He can't walk into me for same reasons, because it's just whoever flinches first. And so we kind of stopped at round 3 and we're like, okay, this game's over. Now let's rewind back to turn 2 whenever you played this command card instead of this command card. And let's just hypothetically say you won the roll off, and now Yoda can maybe go dive a hostage and wreck stuff. And we did that. We did even a couple of dice rolls on that and realized, okay, I played the best possible card for my turn, and he played the best possible card for his turn. And it really ended up being a true draw in that instance of we couldn't kill each other. But we were able to wind it back, and then we even talked about other possible objectives for our 2 lists that night. So there's a lot of good discussion going into that game.
And it was not definitely as fluid as Travis's beautiful words there laid it out. We were in the tank. Like, I mean, we probably spent, we didn't finish the game because we spent the rest of the time trying to figure out, is there, like, first of all, we know nobody's, like, I literally asked him, I was like, I'm not going to move. Like, are you going to move anybody out? Because then I will just delete them. My DC-15s will just line up and go. And he's like, no, because I know that's what's going to happen. And so we spent the rest of the time we would normally be playing a game literally going back and moving those pieces around, trying those different cards out and going, okay, does this change anything? And like Travis said, we even rolled dice and stuff. I mean, we spent probably a good hour and a half of just going back and forth and doing that. Because at the end of the day, the win or the lose did not matter, right? It was like, what are the options, right? Let's explore, was this correct? And even Travis was like, I don't even know if I was correct. Like, am I wrong about what I was supposed to pick? And I was like, I don't know. You're the master. But you know what I mean? So we just played around with cards, like he says. And I think we both learned a lot about kind of the climate of Legion and where it's at right now and what our lists are going to look like going into. Because we talk about it a lot, at least in our local area, that we're, I say this, I should say, we're in like the kill point meta. And so when you're building a list right now, and that's a big part of this M&A league was climate, right? We could do the same M&A league, Master Apprentice league again 6 months from now, a year from now, and get us just as much value because the climate's going to change. And so that was a big thing we both learned coming into this with, like, here's an Anakin clone ball and a Yoda, bark spam with 800 points each. What do we do? Like, how are we supposed to win these games? Like, truthfully win them, not just have like, all right, let's just roll a die. That's not fun. So we learned a lot by going through that. And I think that honestly, for me, I was very grateful to see that before the league even started, because then I could adjust going into the league in my games, and like it kind of ignited the spark for me to really just get going with my list and finding out, well, maybe I want to try R2 out because R2 can secret mission. I can win that tiebreaker. Maybe I try, maybe I don't. Maybe I have a bid and force the question, get myself out of the shell, or and you know what I mean. And maybe I play these, kind of more raunchy missions because there's like 5 that we all play. Well, what if I played the ones we don't? And so. And that just kind of sparked that creativity, and I think that was kind of the whole point.
Yeah.
Maybe don't play Long March. Hostage.
But if R2 is not going to help you much there.
No.
Oh no, the deployments change for sure with R2.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What would you say then is the balance between having fully optimized lists, like striving towards that at least, versus, hey, I'm gonna do something funky? Because I know for me at this sort of thing, my first thought might be, okay, kind of nerf myself by going with something weirder, but maybe that's not as good a learning experience for people, and instead should strive for something more, like, should I take, hey, whatever I think is my top tournament list that's going to win the next Worlds? Like, what's kind of the right middle ground for the Masters, especially, I would say, that you've found?
Oh, all right. I'm going to let Travis answer this from the Masters perspective, and I want to answer it from what the apprentices should take. So Travis, what do you think the Masters should list-wise should be doing?
Yeah, so
I think they're very different answers.
With the Yoda list I was running, sorry, I think I had a lag there. With the Yoda list that I was bringing, I felt like it was going to be a competitive list. I was bringing it to be a potential list I would take to a tournament to try to do well with.
Did it have Chewbacca in it?
List that Drew and I practiced within our game, and I'm still trying to grow up, Seth. I'm still trying to grow up.
Wait, so does it have Chewbacca?
But it did not have Chewbacca.
Trash list, clearly, yeah.
Nah, it's not a good list.
Yeah.
Okay,
Chewbacca
go.
sucks. What are
Sorry.
you talking about?
It does
If you
not.
listen to the podcast, you'd know that, clearly. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Wait,
Continue.
no,
Sorry, I'm so
just
sorry.
kidding.
Continue, Travis. Continue. I was actually really engaged. Sorry. Continue.
Okay. And so I've been running that, and then I think the next game that Drew and I played, at least I wanted to throw at him because he was doing some dodges with Anakin and sharing some of that. Was I brought in 3 Rebel snipers, and so bringing in that high velocity element into the equation. But then I did add some funk in it with Sabine and Ahsoka.
Groovy.
No, that game was not as close as the Yoda game. Oh man, that was quite the game. I've learned what Fire Sport can do, and it's a great tool in the bag.
Yeah.
So Travis, let me ask you though. So you were saying kind of what you brought as list, and you were just wanting to try stuff out and bring stuff to help me learn. And I feel like that is a great kind of a take, I think, on what the Masters should be doing is, I mean, honestly, even if you have the ability to beforehand, ask your opponent, what do you want to, hey, do you want to, 1, try something, or 2, do you need practice against something? As an apprentice, I feel like what lists they should be bringing is, what are you trying to get out of this league? And if what you're trying to get out of this league is competitive play, you need to be bringing a list you're going to take to a tournament. A lot of our guys, though, and I think this is actually probably one of the biggest struggle points that the community ran into with this league, was a lot of our guys were like, I want to play what I want to play, but I also want to do really well with it. And I think that is a possibility in Legion. I think it's very challenging for people to try to commit to some stuff that's maybe not, optimized for where the game is at right now, but it's not impossible. And I think a lot of people, kind of struggled with maybe their masters trying to find that list that helps them get what they're wanting to play, but also still compete. And I think that's a tall order to ask. I think that is a struggle for both the master and the apprentice, because they're going to go, hey, I want to play, what's a really bizarre Sabine. She's kind of an out there unit. Jin. Jin is a unit that, maybe they watched Rogue One and they absolutely love Rogue One, and she's a great character. I think she's awesome. And they're like, I want to play Jin. Well, if your master has never even played Jin, they're going to have a really hard time, because your master is going to, again, be one of those guys that's been winning tournaments, or at least doing really well at tournaments. And they're probably not seeing Jin at a lot of tournaments. So now they're kind of without answers for you. And I think that was probably the biggest struggle in the league, was we had a lot of guys that were, and I'm not talking about newbies, because newbies are fine with like, I just want to play with what I want to play, because I'm still just learning how to play the game, period. I'll lose still with what I have fun with. I'm talking about guys that are like, I'm an X1 player and I'm trying to get to day 2. You know what I mean? How do I do that with this off the wall character? And I think Masters really struggled with trying to help them with that. Now, that being said, though, I think you should still do that. If you are wanting to do well with that character, this is still the best format for you to try and play that list. Because if you're doing it correctly, you should be playing against people and going, turn 0, flop. Let's analyze the flop. What is my character capable of doing? No, okay, I can't do that. Cool, we're gonna play this, right? And then, so this is still like a format that I think still is proper for those kind of off the wall characters and list. And I actually kind of hope going forward, people go to, weekly game nights and go, do you want to play tournament style or do you want to play M&A style?
Yeah.
Like, I hope this kind of ingrains into people's head in our community of there's more than one way to play Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Save like the casual stuff for like training and like, I'm prepping for this tournament, to be like more casual and like, okay, well, let's learn and grow. I'm also prepping for this tournament. Yep. Or I'm not going to this tournament and I'll help you prep, and something like that. So I think that is very valuable. What I love about like this is that a lot of people like they read, like someone asks is like, hey, like I want to learn Legion, like how do I do it? People are like, oh, go listen to the Bombad Generals, or go listen to a podcast.
That's the number one thing people say.
That's the number one pick, short and sweet and concise and straight to the point. Wildly efficient, I think is what we've been called. But also like blogs or anything. But what I love about this league is it's like, this league is, no, don't go listen to people who are playing top lists, but like, let me help you grow in your list, because not all the time, like, are like, people are like, oh, Sabine, like, you don't want to play Sabine, she's bad. And you're like, and this new person who was like really excited to play Sabine is like, oh, like, gets defeated and deflated, and that's kind of like start like a downward spiral of like the game of like maybe not being as fun for them, to where like this Master Apprentice league, like, okay, yeah, she may not be the best, but let me train you and help you utilize her into the extent, and maybe like that's where like that conversations like take place, is that like where it's not just like you're playing a game and you talk through the game, but you're like from base list building, like that's where you all start, and then all the way to the end. Because I think like where I've learned a lot in games, like I've played a lot of TTS and stuff, is that like I've played a game and maybe I've learned, and then like it's like a debrief after the game that's like, oh, like I think you should have done this, like a player's done that to me. But what this is like it's during the game, like, oh wait, like you're about to play this command card, I don't think you should, and here's why you should play this command card because of X, Y, and Z, because you have this possibility. So that's really cool, because then you can instead of being like, oh, I'll just try what I learned from this game out in my next game, it's like, no, I'm going to try it right here, right now. And you're learning real time, which I really appreciate, like that league. And I think it'd be really cool if we get like the community on this, and just like, I think a lot of people just can learn. And I think overall the skill level will just go up, because like as masters train people, like their skill level is going up, because there's like I don't know, it's like a subconscious psychological thing, like when you teach something you learn
brain muscle, right?
Yeah. Being forced to like kind of just talk it through just helps you think, hey, what is my own thought process and what am I missing? Or maybe it puts you in like, hey, when I actually like really talked it out, I just need to really talk it out with myself in every game. Yeah, and that's the way to go.
I mean, a great example of that. to me was my last round opponent actually was playing Palpatine, and I used to play a lot of Palpatine, and we're both playing the game, and he did the I can't recall the card, but I think it's his 2-pip where they get to choose what unit activates first.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of helping them along make the decision. I have to go, what is the best choice for you? Like, and it makes you have to also then, now I'm playing against Palpatine where he can kind of ruin my day, and I'm like, oh, I should have set up maybe a little bit better for that because I know he has that card. How does this hose me randomly now? And so 100%, like Matt and Seth are saying there, like it's still, even for the guys that, they quote unquote know what they're doing, like you're never done learning. I mean, this game's constantly changing, and you're gonna have to evolve with it.
Yeah. So you also mentioned before, we talked about this before the pod, but like this also could be a like 1-day tournament style, correct? How would that work in like this format?
Yeah, so I mean, throughout this entire league, we've been getting feedback from community members that are involved in it, just trying to get ideas, and as it's winding down, just trying to figure out, hey, how can we do this better next time? And an idea was brought up of like, hey, what if we just did this on a weekend? Instead of doing a tournament, we do, all right, we'll get a couple of coaches, you show up, the coaches get assigned a couple of apprentices, and, maybe the coaches are right there to the table next to them, kind of guiding them through the whole process. And so almost like a crash course or a 1-day super course of M&A versus a 4-week or an 8-week long league, that you get the entire experience in one weekend versus spread out.
Yep.
And the idea there would be the masters are not playing themselves and kind of floating between, if they have multiple apprentices, kind of like at that table, talking through maybe a table on their left, a table on their right, sort of thing.
Yeah, or a master's playing a 5-hour game versus another master,
right?
Just making sure that they're, giving the time to the apprentices, but at the same time they can get to throw the dice too. So,
Yeah, that's cool.
I think I think that totally could work.
Yeah.
You bring up time there. That is one of my questions, because obviously with all the talking, there is a chance for that to make things longer. How have you guys noticed the duration of these games has been? Has it been stretching to really long lengths? Has it been staying actually pretty manageable? How would you say the best route is to handle that?
I mean, I played, so one of my opponents we couldn't get a time scheduled in the 2-week time frame, so we just treat that as a draw again. But I was able to play 2 of my Masters games, and I mean, they both went super fast. I mean, 2 hours and 2.5 hours, but that's 2 super experienced players in our community, and we're even us talking through stuff, and like, I mean, playing Yoda and trying to figure out his cards. I'm like, what's the best card to play here? It's like, oh yeah, his 2-pip. You got about 10 options you can do with his 2-pip. Oh, that's right. Thanks. But even with some of the discussion, I mean, it's still, we played pretty fast. So Drew, I mean, you've played more apprentice games, so I don't know what your experience was.
Yeah. So I played 3 apprentice games because that apprentice master thing also doesn't work with the odd number either. So I ended up getting paired up against an apprentice again. I only got to play a master once.
One time. Yeah.
But but it was fine. I don't mind that. But they were very long. Just skip to it. They were pretty long. So my round 1 opponent and I, thankfully we have a history together. We used to play a lot of 40K together, and so it was kind of like just meeting up with an old friend. And so we were already kind of shooting the breeze, and that doesn't help, time. But that game was probably the most extensive. He was the one who was single-digit games. We went through literally every activation, every card flip, every turn 0 flop. I even offered to re-rack the game. He lost Maul. He was playing CIS. He lost me Maul turn 2. And I was like, you want to just reset the game? I was like, I'm more than happy to reset the game. And so it was a pretty long game. I think that game took about 4 hours. But it also, if there's anything I remember from this league, that game was the most rewarding game for me through the whole league, because I felt like I was at a point where I could help somebody out, and it's so fun to watch people like that light bulb go off in their head and be like, oh, whoa, that's how that works, or whoa, this is how I do that, and it's pretty sweet. My second round opponent was also another apprentice, and him and I's game, actually, we unfortunately didn't get to finish it. We got through, I believe, 4 turns in about 2.5 hours. So, and then the store we were at was needing to close. Now, we did proceed to talk the entire rest of the game out in the parking lot. So we were able to still analyze a lot of the game state and whatnot. And so there was still growth able to be done there. And then my third game was against another master. That game went pretty quick because he wasn't really, worried about his stuff. He was just it was 2 brains getting to think for me. So that game finished in, 2.5 hours. And we got to go over some pretty critical moments with, Anakin failed 4 saves at once. And it's like, okay, it's turn 3 and you have no more Anakin cards. What do you do to get out of this hole? Right. And so it was a really fun, mental gymnastics to try and figure out like, okay, well, what do we do? Because again, nobody should be really concerned about winning or losing going into these games. It's all about how do you make this the best way? How do you make the best of this game now in bad situations and whatnot? Yeah. And then my last game was against another apprentice, but this apprentice I would say is easily at my level or higher. And we played our game, even with conversation happening. We played, and I think we got done in about 3 hours. So, and honestly, I would say for casual Legion, 3 hours is a pretty good time. I think that's a fair amount of time for me because for me, anyways, as you guys can already probably tell, with half of this recording being my voice. When I'm playing a game with somebody, I'm also talking to them and shooting the breeze and stuff. So 3 hours to get a game in on a quote unquote casual environment, I would say is the average amount of time. So only 2 of my games really went super long, and then the other 2 were about at time I would expect.
Groovy.
Yeah, 3 hours is absolutely fine for sure on the casual side. Especially, that's good to know, because I feel like the apprentice games too might have been some of the longer ones. Just from my experience thinking about my communities. Like the newer players, that's when things can drag a bit. Not that that's a bad thing, but just so people are prepared if this is something they want to go down.
Oh yeah, if the people, and that's a great reminder, Matt. That we're trying to share this with the greater community at large, and that's definitely buckle up because you could have some long games for sure.
Yeah, and I think where this.
Go ahead,
It sounds like just like where this league would thrive is not necessarily. I know we've been saying a lot of like noobs and new players, but like people that I think masters, of course, that are very experienced, but also people that like know how to play the game, the base game. So you're not like teaching them each keyword, teaching them, oh, here's how you do an action. But it's more like a lot of what we talk on the podcast is more like teaching them those tactics and like those critical decisions that make or break your game. And I think that's where this league could thrive. So if you have someone new, it's like, oh, this sounds really cool. Like teach them how to play the game before, I think would be best. And then that's where like this Master and Apprentice League is where you dive deep into like the tactics, turn 0 discussion, and all that jazz. Yeah,
that's how we advertise the league too. I think the first sentence in the league was like to be more competitive at Star Wars Legion and at tournaments. So that was the preface to join the league. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the core of it was those 2-1 guys trying to win a tournament, and then it just happened to be that it also was applicable to just everyone involved.
Yeah, and then hopefully the next league, then like as like leagues go on, if like your community keeps doing this, then you can like, okay, let's start implementing chess clocks to this thing, because there's tournaments that have those, and people get nervous when there's a chess clock. It's like, okay, how do you make these quick decisions, and so it's nice.
Yeah, we actually had a master with one of their apprentices say, you're not finishing round 4 in any of your tournament games. You have to play your Master and Apprentice games on a chess clock. And so he had to take a chess clock with him to all his games. And so
every single round. Yep.
That's fun.
Yep. But that's the point, right? Is like that was his weakness, right? And that's the other thing. It doesn't even have to be a game thing. It could be like, hey, man, you're not on time to the tournaments. You know what I mean? I'm gonna clock when you get to the M&A game, right? I mean, who knows, right? It could be anything. Whatever you need to use to grow, use this league for it.
For sure. Matt, do you have any last thoughts or questions or?
No, I think that's it. I think that kind of hit on the things I was curious about with my cursory knowledge of the league coming in and from what I heard. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really have anyone around me anymore, but if I did, I feel like this would be definitely something worth exploring. And I think it won't be a fit for every community, just depending on what people are trying to get out of it. But I think there are probably a lot where there are those people who want to kind of unlock that next level quite a bit and put in a lot of effort and concerted effort to doing that. So I think if this is a fit, this is a great way to achieve that goal.
For sure. Well, we'll wrap it up here. Travis, Drew, hey, thank you guys so much just for being on and just taking your time out and just being with us. Matt, thanks for waking up at 3 a.m. to record this pod. Oh man. Yeah. Travis, Drew, do you guys want to plug anything before we close down?
I know we got I think our last store championships are coming up in October there with you, Seth, there in Tulsa, and also in Edmond in November. So if you want that last world invite, come over to Oklahoma.
Yep.
We got a pretty competitive scene.
It's easy to get in and out of Oklahoma. It's pretty cheap.
And I'm not playing, so it's anyone could win,
There you go.
We need this new league so we can get players back for all the players that Seth has chased away.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Brutal beatdowns. Yeah, that's the real.
I actually don't think I've played a noobs yet. So at one of the tournaments.
Fair.
So yeah.
Oh. Well, I've had an absolute fun being on here. I appreciate you guys inviting us on. This is actually really fun getting to talk about Legion to a greater scale, and then also this league and specifically. Travis put a ton of work into it, and then I'm always loving to be a soundboard. So I would appreciate you guys having us on here.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep, thanks for having us on.
Absolutely. Hey, for those who are watching, if you want more information, there's some links below that you can just click just to grab more information about it. Connect with Travis or Drew on Discord. Yeah. Travis is Splash Cola on the Legion Discord. I don't know what Drew is on the Legion Discord. I think Pookie is his name.
Drew is not on the Legion Discord.
He's not on the Legion Discord. But yeah, I do want to plug. I am TOing a Legion tournament coming up in Store Champion October 28th of this month. So come to Tulsa. So come on out. It's 16 player cap, but hey, we'll have a Worlds invite for those 16 players to up for grabs. So come on, we'll have some cool prizes, Tulsa specific prizes too. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Heyo. Well, hey, you all stay healthy out there. Stay Star Warsy. I don't know, and stay Gungan.
Stay Gungan.
There we go. I was waiting for it.